to ask questions. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, George.
How are we all doing?
Mine was a name.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Julie, do we usually do an overview? And since no one was at our budget, hearing, is it?
We don't normally, but that's
You're
up to George and
Commissioner, you're more than welcome to if you feel.
It just might help to put things in context a little bit,
All right,
where we started and where we ended up.
okay. There.
I don't have any extra
No, I
copies
have
of that
copies.
PowerPoint.
Okay.
I have one if somebody needs it.
There's a bunch, you can just go right about them.
Yeah, I think it might be helpful.
Okay.
We did not have anyone at our budget. hearing. Any public. folks.
Yeah.
Nice, anyone. But, yeah, a lot of preparation and.
I don't know, was it good weather or why?
It was fun.
It was
a lovely night.
Yeah.
And we had it at 6 so people could come after work.
Well, we have-
Then we got complaints that it was at 6 and that was supper time, but
And was it online? Did anybody?
no, because we were downstairs and that's not a good, but that had been announced well in
Long time,
advance
yeah.
that we weren't gonna do it on via Teams.
Yeah.
So given that, we're gonna do this, we've got, I think, enough time that we can wait for Sam to give everybody a copy.
She had them already.
Yeah, we had lots of extras left over from the night.
When everybody was here.
Right. Bristol Select Board really appreciated they asked me to come give an update and I brought my little PowerPoint that I handed out to them and it was very nice.
Okay, so. I'll call the budget workshop to order and ask that Representative. Opal, you just said enough. But you lead it, sir, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Morning.
Morning.
Where's yours?
Okay, so you have your handouts right there, and I'll try to make this go short for you, but just to give you an idea, we started with the department request, and the budget was, from that request was 63,583,776. That's a 10.28% increase. And the county taxes would have increased by 19.25%. The number would have been 36 million and change that we needed to raise. And the total amount proposed would have increased the budget by 0.9 million or 10.28%. So those requests were certainly reasonable and based on actual need. We met with everyone as you all are going to do. There was a rise in insurance costs and inflation were really the drivers, additional staff that needed, and you'll hear about that as you go through the budget. What we approved on the right-hand side here with inflation pretty much is beyond our control. We asked everyone to go back to look at those budgets in detail and see what they could possibly make for cuts. So they did do that. The departments did that. We're very appreciative of that. And we reduced the budget by just over 3 million. So that the number came down to 60,536,966. And that brings the amount to be raised by taxes and the commissioner's budget to 8.78%. And the total increase in the budget from 26 to 27 is 4.99%, or 2.8 million. So we were really proud of the department heads that they did that. You know, we know that that was hard for them because they were very realistic in the budget they presented to us. The next page shows you the increase in revenues, surplus use. We decrease the amount to use in surplus, the amount, again, almost 5% increases in expenses, and the county tax increase at 8.78%. There is a pie chart that shows that. The revenue I'm sorry, that's the revenue highlights. And where that comes from, the numbers, the county taxes, surplus 1.5% or 2% of that revenue. The nursing home at 20 million, 33% of our budget. And yeah, so you can see where the funds revenues come from that help. And then this next page gives you an idea of the revenue increases. The county attorney, it's a grant increase, register of deeds. It's, you know, development and growth in the county. Department of Corrections, again, we got more grant increase. That's why there's more revenue there. A farm, we will hear from Glenn. It was a timber harvest, so a lot of that came from there. Different revenue, miscellaneous, for example, we did change our health insurance from the health trust to Harvard Pilgrim. And that decreased in the expenses, and you'll see that in the expense side, but they also gave us a premium credit, so that was a significant number. The nursing home, however, revenues did decrease. And so you'll see the pro share payment, although we do have a brand new number for that, but that in the past has been quite a large number. Not expecting that so much anymore. And the amount that we used to our surplus to decrease taxes was 200,000 less. And some explanation of that. Next pie chart shows you the expense breakdown and where the money gets spent. You can see it's mostly in the nursing home. In the Department of Corrections, however, the county cap, which is on the right-hand side there, 7.5 million. That's the mandate from the state as to what we pay into that share of Medicaid to bring the Medicaid money down from the feds. So that number went up to 3% this year.
Right.
And there is a cap at 2%, which was not maintained for this budget that the state had. So, and then there's some highlights around those expenses. We did agree to a 3.03% cost of living adjustment for all the employees. Our bargaining units have gotten that, and in order to be fair, really, we put that for all the employees. So that's based, that 3.03% is based on the 10-year rolling average of the annual CEIU for, that includes Boston, Cambridge, Newton, Mass, and New Hampshire. So New Hampshire is included in that CPI rolling average. And so that's what we used. And so that's what the commissioners agreed that we would use going forward. We'd use that 10-year rolling average that keeps it fairly maintained, consistent for folks. Our health insurance costs increased by 9.9%. They would have gone up 23% with Health Trust. So we, in order to reduce costs, took a proposal from Harvard Pilgrim, which our employees agreed to, and that had quite a big savings, and we got a premium credit. So overall health increase was 7.92%. So that was a whole lot better than the 23% that we would have had. Department of Corrections, when you hear from them, there are several reasons their expenses. One is the bail reform has changed things. We have a higher census in there. And so then all the costs there increase with that, and inflation, of course, for all of those things. But what's really interesting is the aging population in the jail. it's, brings in those complex medical needs. We have a lot of medical issues, hospital visits, hospital stays, and associated costs. So once someone is in the Department of Corrections, all those medical costs have to be borne by the county. This caused the commissioners to add 2 full-time nursing positions using travelers partway through the year, this current year, to deal with that. So there are overnight nurses now at the Department of Corrections because we have folks. Otherwise, those folks would have to go out to hospital-based care and the care that we'd have to pay for. So what we've added 2 full-time nursing positions in order to not continue with the traveling nurses. We'll have those through part of the year of 27 budget. But as soon as we can hire those full-time nurses, we'll have them in the DOC. And then there's just an overall increase in overtime due to the increased population in medical. We have to send someone, an officer with a patient when we send them off to the hospital, the ER, what have you. So what's that cost? Moving on to the nursing homes. Again, increased census. We're serving more of our population in Grafton County, which is good news. And more of our LNA positions are being filled. Those educational sessions that provide the training for the LNAs, bring in new LNAs, and really have made a huge difference with us being able to serve the residents there, and less need for contract positions, which continue to be mostly, the nighttime shifts, the weekend shifts, and all that we have a hard time filling. So we still have some contract positions, but we are doing most of this ourselves now. And then probably the one you'll hear, I think from Jim today too, the maintenance department, what's gone up, and I'm sure you're all feeling this too at home. Utility rates have increased, trash removal has increased, electricity, water rates, and sewer rates all have gone up significant amounts. So those are causing us, those are the inflation things we're feeling. I mentioned the county cap. We pay this to the state for long-term care expenses and home and community-based services. Both of those are included in that. And the county, all counties pay this by state statutes. And because of that, county cap has increased 3% in fiscal year 27. That number that we have to pay goes up. That's a significant check that we write every month. So let's see, what is that? Over the past 2 years, our percentage has decreased. So right now we're looking at paying 7.589 million. And then social services, we provide about 500,000 in funding. We moved everything that we could out of this budget line item and into the opioid abatement fund money that the county receives. So we've done as much of that as we could with that funding. So that helps a little bit with expenses. And then your dates are on here. Okay, so I did that pretty quick. But questions now, where you'll see all these folks as we go through the next.
So I think rather than having a lot of duplicative questions when the department heads ask, and wait until we have over it.
Yeah.
That's okay. Because we're already 20 minutes late and want to try and stay as close to schedule as we can. Is that all right with everybody? Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. But
Sir.
let me make my little speech so that I usually take a minute or two to do. I would appreciate it. It's only necessary, from my point of view, for you to point out to us significant differences. If, I mean, a couple of dollars here or there are not going to change things, but if there's a really important revenue or expense item you want to leave for our we do, but we don't need to go over it every single line.
I'm pretty brutal.
Okay. And then, of course, the executive committee will have opportunities to question and go on. Okay.
Now, I turn to page 26 on the expense side. You see on the left, the farm 7,100 account. And instead of going down through every line, basically, the expense side of the budget for fiscal year 27 is up under $10,000, $9,137. There were probably more deductions than there were additions. The largest additions were just salary with the cost of living increase was the biggest part, and the rest were really deductions of some of the lines that could be adjusted. Really all my comments on
And
expense.
revenue side of
And
things.
the revenue side, if you go to page 2, about halfway down the page, you'll see the county farm sale of milk. Some lines have been adjusted down, some have been adjusted up. The bottom line is that for fiscal year 27, I anticipate an increase in revenue of $65,000, $65,050 to be exact. Those are projections. The largest part of the revenue side is the sale of milk. I projected about 1.6 million pounds of milk production during the fiscal year. And a price of $18.50, which is fairly conservative. This is one area that if we had a little luck during this current fiscal year, we saw milk drop as low as $15 a hundred. It started to come back up recently. You know, I felt that a conservative number, not knowing what the current administration is gonna do with tariffs and other things that have affected the price of milk and some farm stuffs during the course of this fiscal year. Don't really know what those are gonna be, so I felt to be a little conservative, but to just give you an idea of how important the sale of milk is to us. If we projected out the same numbers at $20 milk, that'd be roughly $326,000 worth of revenue. At $22.50, $366,000 of revenue. And if we had $25 milk, which is not unheard of, $407,000 worth of revenue. So if we have a little luck during the course of this fiscal year and milk goes up, it has recently started to go up. Our last milk check, we were just a little bit over $22 a hundred, which is very good. If that trend continues to go up and we can average somewhere over that 1850, then a big source of revenue for the farm will come in above average. Just to give you, I know we're here talking about fiscal year 27, but during this current fiscal year, as I mentioned, I think every monthly report I gave the Board of Commissioners, but very worried about the price of milk and what we were receiving for our checks. Very happy to report I'm waiting for a check that I should get this week. And depending on that check, I think we'll actually meet our budgeted goal of the $312,000 for this fiscal year. And overall, the financial shape of the revenue for the farm for this current fiscal year is over what we had already projected. So I intend to be under expended on my expenses this fiscal year and over collected on our revenues. And hopefully that trend will continue. It's really all I have for my budget numbers. I can explain anything or answer any question that you may have.
And I saw Representative Spar's hand first. You're gonna,
Yes, thank you. Question, and again, this sort of to everyone. So expenses typically are greater than revenue by, in case budget 2027 looks like about $175,000.
Mhm.
Is there value in having this farm that's costing the taxpayers, a couple $100,000 a year?
Absolutely. So you talk about that budgeted deficit. When I took over the farm a couple of years ago, the budgeted, that number in between expenses and revenues was closer to $300,000. So I've been able to trim that back to that $173,000, and that's just what's budgeted. At the end of the fiscal year, I hope to be over collected in my revenues and under expended in my expenses. So for instance, in fiscal year 25, although that budgeted gap was $266,000, the actual number came back at $35,000. And that didn't include the donations that we make to public institutions throughout the county, soup kitchens, shelters, senior centers, things like that. Doesn't include the pumpkin day that we do with the kids in the local area. Doesn't include the ag days that we send animals to, the North Haverhill Fair, the Caledonia County Fair. Doesn't include any 4-H donations that we do. Doesn't include the studies that we do with Cooperative Extension or UNH or any of those things. So that $35,000 is what it actually costs the taxpayer for that fiscal year. And then you add in all those added value things that the county farm provides. My answer is absolutely yes. The farm is good for the county and provides.
Just to follow up on that, I guess, what do you expect this year at the end to close the books?
Well,
Based on where we are.
I think it's going to be a little bit higher. We didn't have a timber harvest this year in this current fiscal year, so that number is probably going to be closer to $100,000. But I still think with the value of the study that we're currently doing now with UNH with the boluses for the cows, we recently did a demonstration for all local farmers on the application of pesticides and herbicides with the drone. We intend to actually spray all our cow corn in a week or so with using this technology. So it gives the other farmers in the area just another tool, to see how they can save on their expenses. There's really only one pesticide applicator in the area right now, and they, just treating our sweet corn in the last week or so, the price of what we paid this year is 3 times higher than what we paid last year. So, anything we can do to help the local farmers and be an example and kind of an experimental piece of that, I think is a plus for everybody. And has value.
Thank you. I had Representative Stringham next.
Yeah, I have a few questions on some of the revenue assumptions. The new wood sales line's $40,000.
Mhm.
Is that contracted or is it speculative at this point?
Well, that's a number that's provided by the county forester. So the county forester goes out, looks at the stumpage on what his planned cut is going to be, and then uses the market trends for what wood's bringing. The actual timber harvest itself goes out to bid. And that's always been the practice. Typically, it's been our experience at the county that what that number that we have in the budget is, again, very conservative. The last time I think we had a timber harvest was forecasted for around $25,000 if I remember correctly, and I think we actually collected around $42,000. So typically in the farm budget, the revenue numbers are pretty conservative.
And
You have a follow.
yeah, I have about 3 or 4 questions. So if you want me to stop after one, but
Go ahead.
this isn't directly related, but the dairy herd produces, I think you said, 1.63 million pounds, and the budget is 1850. And what's the current price of milk? And again, we fluctuate the price based on current market. We don't do long-term contracts. Is that right?
Correct. So during this current fiscal year, we've had a low of right around $15.00 and our last check that we received was around $22.00. So the way that I come up with the 1850 is kind of averaging out what we could anticipate in prices. If we trend the way that the price of milk's been trending now, then some of those other numbers I gave you aren't out of the question. The $18.50 100 that's in the budget is, I would say, very conservative. And I kind of learned that from this year that I was hoping for a little bit better, and we didn't get that, although with a little luck we'll meet our expectations.
All right, go ahead.
I have written down notes that the manure spreader was deferred to our ARP funding.
Mhm.
is there any operational impact on business with that all through or?
Yes. So we had two operational manure spreaders entering this season. They're both old machines. One of them basically was past the point of return. It just rusted out. You know, if you could imagine very corrosive materials of urine and feces in the machine all the time, it just rusted out from use. So we used the ARPA interest money to purchase, the commissioners authorized us to purchase a new machine, which we've already done. And the old machine had some trade-in value. I don't know exactly what it was. I guess maybe the tires were pretty good and we're able to offset the final cost of the new manure spreader by that. Our other manure spreader has been out of service. We just finally got it fixed this weekend, so we're back up to the two manure spreaders that we'll need for the season.
That would get one more.
Okay, so, do we have a realistic lifespan of the current farm equipment? And, maybe a 5-year capital need or in your mind?
I don't think that we do. You know, as I've often said, that a lot of our equipment, it's aging. We're a tie stall farm. You know, we're not as modern as other farms in the area. And during the winter months, that's when our equipment really takes a beat. The cold weather, metal on metal. But we do the best we can to mitigate expenses. The manure spreader that we just repaired, we had a local certified mechanic do the work instead of bringing it to a place of business, so to speak. We had it repaired here on site by this mechanic, kind of off the books, which cost us a lot less money. So we do a lot of things like that. If we can't fix it ourselves, we find friends or neighbors that can do it for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Representative Opal.
Glenn, I saw two things that sort of jumped out at me when I was looking at this. The 9-month actual figures, both the total and for gas, which particularly struck me, given the price of gas lately. And I understand, particularly in agriculture, month to month expenses are gonna change. So, but I've tried to do my best and do, divide the number by 9 and then multiply by 12.
Excellent question.
And it looks like if you continued the current spending trend for gas, God knows what gas is gonna be, but it'd be half of what your actual, a little more than half of what your budgeted for 26. And then there's a $2,500 increase in that line. Overall, doing that same side, taking the 9-month figure, dividing by 9, and then multiplying by 12, the overall number comes in $120,000 below the budget. And I'm just wondering, in the final 3 months, the final quarter of fiscal 26, what's the expectation in terms of, is my exercise completely whacked? Because
No, it's not. That's actually an excellent question. That's probably a great question for every other department except the farm. The farm being a seasonal business, we have a high amount of work in the summer and the fall, and then it's pretty stagnant in the winter, and then we have an intense amount of work in the spring. So those lines like gas, oil, and fuel, seed, fertilizer, and spray. And I'm sure there's another one in there too, equipment repair. You'll see that the trend in the spring expenses is higher than any other part of the season. So I would expect that just for what our billing is for, say, April, May, and June in gas and oil, it's gonna be pretty close to what we budgeted. It'll be under, but it probably won't be by much.
that was my assumption.
Yeah,
That it was a spring
you know, right now, it seems like every time I get in a piece of equipment, I'm going to the diesel pump to fill it up, you know, before we go to work, and that is a concern of mine. I'm hoping that, you know, those costs do come down, and obviously it's something that we watch, but when it's time to spread manure or plow the field or whatever, all those tractors require diesel to do it. All of them require hydraulic fluid, oil, you know, all those things, and those prices are not gone down.
A follow-up, Mr. Chair. Just,
Yes, sir.
right now, roughly, can you tell us what you're paying per gallon for diesel and for?
I can't, I think Jim Oakes, the maintenance superintendent, can, all those things are under, I think they go out to bid and they're under contract, so I would say right now, we're probably paying a very favorable rate. Compared to when you go to the gas pump. Jim historically has done a fantastic job at that, and I think has saved the county a lot of money, so.
Yeah, because our diesel rates would have been locked in last year, so
Oh, okay, sure, with the,
not suffering as much as someone going to the pump is.
or what's coming.
Right, we've already rebid it, and Jim, the new diesel prices are in the budget, but I don't remember what.
Okay.
Jim will be
I
able.
know it was an increase, and that's largely working with Jim or other department heads. When you look at my expense lines, if I have any interdepartment relationships with anybody else, those numbers are taken into consideration. That's why we had a little bit of an increase in that line.
The other thing you have left is custom cropping, which.
Yeah, custom cropping is another line. You know, we don't have many expenses for cropping. You know, after mid-fall, we have really none during the winter, but we have for getting our cow corn planted, manure spreading, some other, you know, things, our first cut, which we're hoping to do right now, and our second cut before the end of this fiscal year, so that's why your theory won't work on those lines, but some of the other ones it will.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Good question.
Representative Franks.
Thank you. So if I understand this, so you're expecting the gas and oil price to double or more?
No,
Because, well, right now it's 7,600. You bring it up to the 12 months, it's 10,000. You want 22,500.
what's the 7,000? Is that the?
Right now,
6
the
months?
actual 9-month is 7,600. If you annualize that, it comes out to 10,000.
With that line, Representative, you can't, that math won't work with that line.
Well, I mean, what was the budget? The budget was 20. You think you're gonna bring that up to 20?
We'll be close.
Oh, okay.
We'll be close. A lot
I
of our,
wasn't sure exactly.
the intense work that we do, there's a lot of diesel, fuel, oil, hydraulic fluid during, say, the month of late April, May, June. Those are the intense months for us with our equipment operation and the use of diesel fuel and stuff like that, as compared to, say, December, January, and February. You know, we're basically running the tractors to mix feed, come back to the barn, then manure spreading to go down to the manure pit, come back. You know, all the activities we do once snow and frost are gone increase dramatically.
Okay. Could I ask the follow-up?
Sure.
Just one more thing, I guess, and it's just the salary line up top. The 5.77% increase in the farm manager salary. What does that include? A COLA, and does it include merit raise, or what does it include?
I'd have to defer to the county administrator on that. I just put in the number that she gives me. I would assume that it includes the COLA and a step increase.
That is a correct assumption. It includes the COLA and a step increase.
Okay, because sometimes they're broken down and sometimes they aren't, so.
That
Okay,
includes-
so that includes everything. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? All right,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you very much. Sure, you're up.
Kept it warm for you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
I'll give you the same word right here for the 30-second speech I have.
I was.
Oh, you were here,
I got-
so you got the message, right? Just big changes is all we need,
Yep.
because then the question will reveal more.
And I'll start with revenue first.
Please, yeah, I prefer.
So I'm page
I'm sorry, page what?
one.
Thank you.
So we did go up too terribly much, but like pretty much all the numbers are relatively the same. But do you guys have any questions? Or do you want me to go on that one?
No, I do not.
Excuse me, Sheriff, can you speak up for the people online?
Yeah.
This end of the table needs to kind of holler.
Is there anybody online?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Did we have a mic down here?
The too many mics, please don't you move that one. The too many mics messes it up even more. So we're working through it and trying to see if this works better.
Okay, so, we can speak up at this end of the table. And I'm hearing that you don't have anything significant you want to point out to us. So shall we go to expenses on page?
Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative France.
I just would just like an explanation for that, the last two items. The district court prisoners, SECs, I don't know what that means, security and the grants. Can you just,
Yeah, so
you
the,
got a new grant evidently? or-
so the district court, that's our transports that we do, anything that's court ordered. We've seen a significant increase in that, so that would explain that increase. And then, yeah, the other one would be, the highway safety grant and marijuana eradication. So those are the two grants that we received. One is 8,500 and the other one is 7,500. And my expense is on page 14. Again, there weren't really any significant changes.
Page what, I'm sorry.
14.
I was reading myself notes.
Yeah,
In case I get the questions again. For the budget, yeah. Thank you, go ahead.
So the biggest increase was just in wages that came with a union contract that was passed. The 3.03% increase for all employees. The union. I think there's only two of us at the sheriff's office who aren't union members.
Can I just add that all these budgets that have elected officials in them will have to be adjusted for the salaries that were set for them because that has not been done as part of the commissioner budget because you didn't set salaries till after that. So any budget that has an elected official in it will have a change to it to adjust salaries to the rates that you set back on May 11th.
Thank you for that. Representative Opal, I have your hand first.
Sheriff, I have the same question. I noticed in line 414006 in deputies, there's and I'm assuming this is reflecting perhaps the number of personnel, but it looks like if you take the 9-month and again annualize it, it comes in at 861. So it's about 140,000 below what was budgeted. I did notice that the request and what the commissioners proposed is below what is the current budget. And is that reflecting a fewer deputies or?
Yeah, I think the biggest change there was, so our part-time deputies, we have 4 of them. Really only one works a lot, so we decreased that line by about 60,000. We
But
were
you-
using it
You've had vacancies during this fiscal year, which accounts for the lower.
Okay, that's what I was assuming, but I just wanted to hear you say,
Yeah,
as opposed to my assuming something.
yeah, so yeah, I guess if you actually look at it as opposed, compared to last year's budget, we've actually gone down.
Yeah,
in that line.
yeah.
So,
Do you currently have any vacancies or are you at full staff?
we just had one resignation on Friday, so, so now I have one vacancy.
Full-time deputy?
Yeah.
Resignation.
Yeah. That was due to some health concerns and
I have Representative Stringham next.
I just want to focus a little bit on the overtime budget. You requested 90,000 and the commissioner's budget is 60,000. And so
yeah, so right after I gave my initial budget to them, we withdrew from the Northern Shield grant due to a few different issues, but mainly because all these other departments that are in that grant are using it significantly. And we really just don't, with the uptick in civil process and transports, we didn't have time to dedicate just to that grant.
Mhm.
It was different before when we had one person dedicated to the drug task force, but we don't have anyone that's really in depth yet with the whole drug game and now, so we let that grant go
Mhm.
and that would be the change.
well, then let somebody else go and come back in.
Okay.
I have different questions.
Jay,
Go ahead.
you're all, go ahead. Representative Stringham.
Oh, okay. How often are court proceedings delayed because bailiffs are caught in DOC lockdowns? What's the operational cost of that?
It doesn't happen often.
Okay. Thank you. And separate question, what is the minimum external security improvement in the courthouse that would address the vehicle barrier concern? That, I see some reference to that.
For the current building? I think that's a gym.
Okay.
A gym thing, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
I do know the AOC is upgrading the camera system in the building over there.
Mhm.
They're completely funding that. And they just recently updated the mag that everyone walks in for security, so.
I think I had Representative Barr next, correct? Thank you, Representative.
Just a couple of questions. The health insurance is up roughly 25%. Are you in charge of that as far as trying to keep those costs in line? I mean, I guess we went for you said that, was it the Harvard Pilgrim plan for the staff? Was that something that?
The sheriff's department is different. The sheriff's department is unionized and they
Okay,
have
so
Allegiant Care for their insurance.
is that out of our control?
Their rates increased.
I think they
16%, I
actually pay
think.
more than what the increase we're looking at,
Yeah, their plans are more expensive than
Right.
the
the county.
Yeah, it looks like
the
it's
county.
more.
county's costs, but, some of that also is change in personnel, so there's different types of change, like we might change from a single to a family and so on, but the sheriff's department and dispatch, the majority of the health insurance costs are through the union and it's Allegiant Care that they have. And there's rates change, their rates change from January, their rates are from January to December, unlike our other rates that go with our fiscal year. So we have it capped at a 10% increase that the county will pay for, so there's an anticipated 10% increase in January on top of the increase that we saw this past January, from July to December.
Okay. And then just on the liability, that went up significantly, about 40%. As near the bottom there, is that on liability?
All of our liability insurance increased, I'd have to look back and see what the increase was, but it was a significant increase in our property liability insurance, fiscal year. 2027.
For the claims, or was it?
A combination of trend, in the insurance industry and in our claims. And the way that it's divided up between departments is, so our property liability insurance contains general liability insurance, it includes property. Both the sheriff's department and the corrections department have a separate law enforcement liability, the nursing home is a nursing home liability, and all of those factors. So you'll see that throughout, that everybody's liability insurance and workers' comp insurance both increase.
And did we stay with the same carrier or different carriers? Did we look at other carriers?
We have not looked at other carriers. We're insured through Primex, which is not an insurance company. It's a risk pool
Okay.
of which we've been insured since 1985, I believe. We also are part of what's called their Prime program, so we also receive a discount on those rates. I think it's either 1.5% or 2% discount that we receive when we complete and recertify our Prime thing, which I just got the emails from those last Monday for our Prime recertification. For those discounts will be applied to our rates for July 1st, what are already included in what we budgeted for.
One,
One more question.
Yeah.
And this may not be applicable for you all, but you said Department of Corrections, and one of the major increases is that the more people were in
Bail
jail.
reform
Well,
And-
and then you said that health insurance has
health
been an issue.
costs.
So when these people come in, these folks who come into the jail, that I would assume some of them have some private insurance, some have Medicaid, some have Medicare.
No, the Department of Corrections is responsible for, they don't use, that insurance is not used if they're in the Department of Corrections.
Is that-
Not if they're not used, it's suspended
Right,
by the federal
suspended.
government.
Yes.
Oh, that the government suspends them. Okay,
Yes.
Okay, understood.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Representative France.
Just a question on the retirement. It looks, well, if the 9-month trend is annualized, it looks like it come in about 25,000 under budget. And then it's been, increased. Do you have a person that is, is retiring this year, or why is the increase there?
I think that just comes with the increase in wages and.
Yeah, so our retirement contributions are based completely off our wages, so as the wages increase, so do the retirement contributions. The sheriff's wages and salary are below for the current fiscal year because she's had some vacancies, so that is why it will come in less than what it was anticipated. And then when we calculate retirement for the upcoming year, it's based off of everybody's anticipated salaries for that year.
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So you expect it to come in at the 329, 330? whatever?
We do not, because we've had vacancies, so we have not.
So
made
then the
those-
real increase is the 13 plus the 25, so $38,000 increase.
Not from the actual budget, because the increases are compared to what the budget,
Well, if you come.
budget, but if you're comparing actuals to the new budget, then yes.
Yeah, compare.
But-
Okay,
But there's a reason, I mean, it's the rationale for the reason it's below is because we have positions that we are supposed to have filled that just haven't been filled at different times throughout the year. So had those positions all been full, we would be on budget for what we budgeted for. So we're anticipating that next year those positions will be filled, those people get step increases and a cost of living adjustment, bringing the wages up, which then brings the contribution up for the retirement. And the sheriff's department being group 2, it's a 30.95% contribution that we make for group 2 individuals, so it's a sizable employer contribution for the New Hampshire retirement system for our group 2 members.
Am I also correct that the state has not kept up with their contribution rate for retirement costs for county as well as cities and towns? In other words, originally when the when the state put insurance costs, retirement costs onto the cities and towns at least. The percentage that the state was providing was quote unquote guaranteed at 31%. It is now 0.
That's the same for us. The state
Yeah.
makes no contribution.
That's where I just wanted,
Several years ago, the legislature included a payback of like 7.5% for group 2 members.
Yeah.
But that was only a 1 year.
a 1-year deal.
Mhm.
So I just wanted the committee, the executive committee, to be mindful of the fact that the state's responsibilities have been abrogated,
Downshifted.
downshifted.
That's
Okay,
the term we
we'll call it what it
use.
is. And that has a huge impact on cities and towns and county government. in terms of their responsibility. Representative Wolf.
This is a follow-up, Sheriff. I'm a little curious about how long it's taking you to fill those vacancies that you have, and what is the pool? Is it mainly local, I mean, law enforcement in New Hampshire or Vermont, or, you know, what are you able to?
Recruit, yeah, okay. So mainly, we've had a lot of certified officers put in for positions. They're all from Northern Grafton County. We really can't compete with like Lebanon or Hanover, or any of those agencies really down there. Plymouth.
Is that a price, salary issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've had a good number of applicants from the Northern Grafton area. And which is very helpful. It's just a long hiring process for us because we have to go through a psych evaluation, we have to do all the interviews. There's a whole background investigation, which takes weeks sometimes. So it's just a lengthy hiring process.
But to this point, you've been able to hire certified.
We
sheriffs.
have one currently in the academy,
That's pretty good, actually.
so we're doing,
That's actually
I'd
pretty
say we're doing
good.
pretty well.
Okay,
Thank you.
Representative Bolton.
So if we do pay for their academy, is there something that they have to sign that they will remain in your office for 3 years, otherwise pay a premium or?
We don't have a contract.
That's good.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, we will, thank you very much, Sheriff. We'll take you up in just a minute.
Got it.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom, touch some coffee, and now that I'm out. Anybody else? We're not going to start till 10, so we've got a few. But only point out
What's that?
significant
We
differences that make it something that you want to
I
explain.
have questions on
Okay.
that.
First of all, for any of you who I haven't met, my name is Dave Veronco. I'm the Director of Communications for the Sheriff's Office. On the revenue side, the Communications Division is mainly
Age.
1. And it would be under the Sheriff's Department, 4th bullet down. I don't have any drastic changes. Our dispatch revenue, our town agencies have all remained the same. So there's none on that. We do bill for the alarm monitoring services, and we have that status quo as well. So if you have questions on either of those two, I would be glad to answer or try.
Representative Stringham.
Could you just summarize who you bill this 730,000 to, how it's determined, what the right amount is, and is it related to usage or availability?
So our dispatch billing practice is based on usage. We bill all the town and municipalities that we provide dispatch services to. Our coverage area is basically from the Piermont Town Line and Orford Town Line north, along the Connecticut River Valley for law enforcement in New Hampshire, all the way, our most northern billable police customer is the town of Northumberland in Coos County. Moves east to Bethlehem, down into Waterville Valley, which is our most southern billable agency. Fire and EMS, we provide services to on both sides of the Connecticut River, basically from Stratford Hollow and Lunenburg area south, all the way to the town of Newbury, Vermont, which is our most southern billable agency on the other side of the river. We bill out approximately 67%. We take the number of 1.2 million, and then we disperse that out based on usage. You do not see $1.2 million in revenue because we provide services to some unbillable entities, that being the sheriff's office itself, the Department of Corrections, the county attorney's office, US Forest Service, a bunch of other agencies that are within county government or some other entity that we do not bill. So that's what's based, and it's all based on usage. It is the most imperfect way, or it's the best way to do an imperfect science, because billing on dispatch is a very hard mechanism. Some places use tax evaluation, some use, a lot of different things, and usages seem to be the best mechanism that we have. So that's what we're doing today.
So. Go ahead.
Follow up.
You may have the same question I have. Go ahead.
So, I mean, some towns have their own dispatch services.
Correct.
And, but I imagine there's interaction between the two, or?
Yeah, so we have a very good working relationship with all the communication center in the county, that being Hanover has their own communication center. They're a regional center, they're our backup center. They use a ProConnect solution from Fidium, which we use. We use the same software, so we are very much sister agencies, brother agencies, however you want to describe it. We're their backup center, they're ours. The city of Lebanon only provides services to the city of Lebanon. Very good working relationship with the city. Plymouth Dispatch has a smaller regional but law enforcement only dispatch center. And then in Lincoln, dispatch is for just Lincoln Fire, Linwood Ambulance, Lincoln Police Department, and Woodstock Police Department. So we have a very good working relationship, often providing resources such as our mobile communication unit to those areas. We do a lot of Dartmouth. So very good working relationship with all the other types.
And since this is revenue, those would still count as usage when you're interacting with them.
So we don't bill the city of Lebanon. Anytime if one of our, and like the sheriff's office, if the sheriff's office went there to assist with whatever, a warrant or a transport, that is one of the unbillable calls that gets lumped into our unbillable work.
So my question is probably not answerable at this time, but I'm gonna ask it and you can think about it. This is for the commissioners as well. So we are now providing dispatch services outside of the county, even over across state borders. Has there been a study or some kind of analyses done to say that these are the hours of additional work that have been required, staffing wise, equipment wise, whatever. And these are the revenues. And I think that's an important question for taxpayers to make sure that we have a sense of that.
So the answer is no. That study has not been done. The concept sounds very good. I believe it's almost impossible, because with your prior career, so you understand, like Monday this week could be busy and we could spend 4 hours dispatching POAS entities. And next Monday, we could do this study and we would spend 0 hours dispatching POAS. I don't believe that there is any one entity that takes up a specific amount of time, which is one of the reasons we bill on usage. The town of Littleton is our busiest entity. And they're our biggest customer, if you will, as far as bill wise. But I don't have an exact time that my staff spends on entities outside of Grafton County departments. And I think that could change every day of the week, every hour of the day. So to come up with a finite number, I'm not sure we could, but the concept, I understand what you're saying, and I think that is something, moving forward that we could, everyone loves the word roadmap and putting stuff on the roadmap to do in the future. But coming up with some way to, be able to put that into a diagram or, something like that would be something that we could at least think about.
So I think maybe the moving forward answer may be the onus of the commissioners to think about whether it's worth the top staff time, et cetera, to find out that, okay, maybe we spend $1,000 more than we should, and it's not worth the staff time that it took to get that answer. But I posit the question because, honestly, taxpayers in Lebanon want to know why we're dispatching and providing ambulance services to multiple towns south of us, and want to know if the time for the staff, the time for the equipment, et cetera, is worth what we're being paid. And it's essentially the same question, dispatch. Okay, but I think at the moment I would, suggest it's a commissioner's question. Representative,
Just to follow up on your point, which I think is good, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that we bill on usage, correct? So we have an understanding of what the usage is for
Correct.
each entity.
Correct.
And we have an understanding of what revenue we're getting from those entities.
Correct.
So billing, Northumberland and Coas County, we know what the usage was and what it produced in revenue. Presumably, there's some
Formula that could
some
say,
formula that could say, okay, this much usage requires this much staff time or expenses or, whatever. That maybe I'm missing something, but it doesn't seem like.
I was thinking of it as how much time one of our staff members spends on calls outside of Grafton County. Could we say how much money we are billing outside of the county divided by how many staff members? Yeah, there is certainly some formula. The idea being is some of those staff members, we would have staff anyways.
so
Attributing it to, I don't know.
sure. So there is a fixed cost versus, variable cost. Part of this question. I'm sorry, that's my MBA kicking in a little bit, but I just think it's worth it. I don't want to spend a lot of time and energy and money on this. I just think it's a question that we should have some answer for the taxpayer. Representative Spock.
I would agree. I mean, if you stripped out all the outsourcing that we're doing or providing for the municipalities and areas, what is the percentage that Grafton County needs for dispatch services, just for what we do for the sheriff? And that would be helpful to see. And I think you can put a pie graph together and say, okay, here's, because we're spending $899, it looks like roughly $1,000
Staff.
on the cost of dispatch, right?
No, the overall budget is like 1.7.
Right, but on the dispatch, oh, yeah.
So you're saying staff?
Oh, yeah, everything, yeah, so we're paying 1.7, but the revenue is only 700.
Correct.
Right, so it's a substantial $1 million expense there that, how much of that can be attributed to Grafton needs, the sheriff's needs? Should we be billing more for the dispatch services to these other entities?
That's okay. So I think you have both you and the commissioners have at least a little bit of guidance from us about the question.
The information we like.
Yes. All right. Anything else on revenues for dispatch? If not, we'll go to expenses, which are on page.
50.
Thank you.
15,
15.
yeah.
Sorry. Even with hearing devices. It's not all that.
And I don't want to sound like I am trying to get out of this lightly, but I don't have any significant changes. I actually have decreases. I will open up the floor to any questions. I don't think the chairman wants me to go line by line, so
Definitely does not.
if you have questions that you would like, let me know.
Fair enough. And if there were a significant decrease, that would also come under the heading of.
And I wouldn't call any of them significant. We were able to, the sheriffs and I spent a lot of time together going over some of our cell phone usage, trying to determine if we had the correct number of phones and everything, and we were able to lower our cell phone bill significantly. So that's a change in the telephone line. We negotiated a couple of our lease agreements that were actually went down based on usage, so that's a smaller decrease. I guess those would be the two that I would touch on.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Questions from the representative?
Given the trend and everything else, I'm just curious, there's I would consider a fairly significant decrease in the health insurance fund.
2 staff members who are taking the HIRP reimbursement program and not taking the health insurance through the union.
Thanks. Good catch. Anyone else?
A general question, I guess.
Representative Stringer?
Any opportunity over the next 5 years with innovation, AI, things to operate equally as effectively with less labor?
On the admin side, there are some use cases in the communications field of AI fielding questions. You know, when you get into a phone tree and you press like, if you have an emergency, you press this one. If you have a non-emergency, you press this line. Some of the non-emergency AI tools are becoming quite effective, where, you know, they can take the data, eliminating the need for the staff to do it. There's no use cases that I have seen currently on any of the emergency side. The state just went to some of the AI stuff on their admin lines at the Department of the Bureau of Emergency Services Communications. So do I see in the next 5 years, some of the administrative stuff being AI filtered at least? Possibly.
Yep.
Scary, but interesting at the same time.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, sir.
So we
Yep.
have capital items that include several
Oh,
of the
yes,
budgets that you
that's
missed
right.
already, so.
I mentioned it in my.
They're the capital reserve account.
I have
So this is a bit different.
I don't have a standard capital. I have a capital reserve.
Very end of your book. It's on page 2 in the capital reserve section, but
Thank
it's
you.
literally the last page in your book.
I mentioned it when I done my thought and then completely. went away.
And you will also see, and again, I don't, you will also see there is a decrease in the capital reserve. In an effort to be extremely fiscally responsible, at the sheriff's office is something that we saw. We have been able to have a very good NDT replacement line, which is mobile data terminals. Our fleet is very well set up, something that we were able to lower. We were going to go with a refurb of our recorder system, which records the radio transmissions and all that stuff when it comes in. The company that we have used for a very long time at the sheriff's office was recently sold. It went from a local New Hampshire company to, was sold to a company you may have heard of called Motorola. So as the director, I felt that it was a very bad time to make an investment in a company that is going to be going through a lot of changes in their infrastructure. So we were able to negotiate a 1-year bridge agreement for maintenance only on the equipment. And we will see how things look in that field next fiscal year. I don't call it kicking it down the road. I really think it's just what's best for the operation. I have seen, large companies purchase small companies before, and it takes them a significant amount of time to get their, goals and everything reestablished where they're a functioning company again. And I was worried that that would happen again in this realm. So I think that that was something else that we were able to move away from in this fiscal year.
All right,
And I call your attention to page 37. That's the page where we have the transfer into the capital reserve account. There's a $36,500 appropriation in that line item, which is the contribution annually that we budgeted, the commissioner's budget to put into. Historically, we used to budget 10% of the dispatch capital, the dispatch revenue. We have not done that for, I'm going 5 at
At
least
least.
years. We cut it in half, and so now we do 5%. So that's what this represents, but that's on page 37 of the budget book as well.
And we talked about, and just to echo, the county administrator, it's the one piece of money that is not Grafton County taxpayer specific. So it's something that we would use if we were trying to expand service or promote something in maybe Pulaski County or Vermont, because it's money that comes from our revenue. So it is not a taxpayer in Lebanon paying for a new radio site in White or something that's very basic example. So that is the funding that we would try to use in those cases.
so my recollection is that, and it's a part of the question, is that the radio tower upgrades that we have been going through before are completed essentially.
So
For the time being.
yeah, so we have all updated equipment on all of our mountain tops as far as radio equipment. The next area that I will be trying to upgrade will be, I call it fortification of the site. Realistically, it would be backup generators. All our sites are not on backup generators. Some of the buildings that our equipment is in are not maintained by us. So we are at the mercy of private internet companies, Eversource, Verizon, AT&T, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I will, in the future, be trying to get our equipment into outdoor cabinets, which are, thermostatically controlled temperature air conditioner and backup generators. So it will be more site fortification than physical radio equipment in the future.
And as a follow-up, sort of, I assume that because I don't see anything in the budget at all, that the dispatch center console is all that upgrades have been completed over the years.
So our furniture is antiquated at best, but it is in very, very, very good condition. And my staff would love it if I came back and said we were buying new furniture. But with all the discussions we've had at the county level of a new building and how that looks like in the next year, 5, 10, 15, I know I got a lot of gray hair, but I got a lot of years left. I don't think it was even close to being fiscally responsible to talk about furniture or anything like that until we have a plan.
I actually meant the dispatching equipment.
So the radio, so our PCs, I actually came to this group and we got some of our capital reserve money that we actually did not have to spend on equipment upgrades. We were actually able to go in with the Department of Safety at the state and work together and get our upgrades done at the same time, which saved the county probably about 55 to 58,000. So currently today, that's a 3 to 5 year cycle. So in FY 27, we should not need to do anything like that.
Okay, last question for me at least. Do you participate in the state's executive committee for interoperability?
So
as your predecessor did?
Yes, I have a seat on the statewide interoperability executive committee. I'm appointed by the commissioner. as a seat for a representative of a major dispatch center in New Hampshire.
Good, glad to hear that. Lastly, the commissioners, in the past, the sheriff has accompanied the dispatch center person for budget hearings like this, and I wondered maybe why that was not the case. I should have asked her, but she disappeared while I was busy. So I just throw that out as a subject for conversation's sake amongst yourselves to have a conversation with her.
And I don't believe that that is a reflection on her relationship with me. She was headed to the Sheriff's Association meeting
Okay.
was this morning, and she had some legislative stuff she wanted to discuss. But we have a very good working
Fair
relationship.
enough. Thank you for that.
And I would say clearly during our conversations, you have worked with the sheriff on the
Yes.
budget.
Yes,
Okay, fair enough.
because all these gray hairs mean I can provide historical perspective for her.
14 years I've seen the sheriff sit next
Yes.
to the dispatch center person,
Okay,
and
fair enough.
suddenly we didn't, and I just wondered why.
Fair enough.
Okay, anyone else? We're running a little late, it's my fault. Representative France.
Well, the same question on the salary lines, the 6% increases, they include step increases as well.
For the salary lines,
Yeah, for the salary lines, you have increases for the director of 6.24 and deputy director of 6.21. Do they include not only the COLA, but step increases as well?
yes, they do.
All salary lines include step increases for employees that are eligible and a cost of living adjustment. Every salary line in the budget includes that.
Because I thought I saw some broken out, but maybe not.
We also pushed back on our department heads this year to make sure that they were looking at those salary numbers really based on who was eligible and not just across the board increases.
I have a very detailed Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Stokes, I'm sorry I'm late. Getting to you. I'll give you the 30 seconds. Start with revenues, go to expenses, then head on to any capital improvement funds you have. And all we really want to hear about is significant changes, we do not need to go line by.
There are no revenues from the maintenance department.
Okay. Then you can do all.
So the repair and maintenance budget starts on page 17.
Thank you.
Right now, the maintenance budget is up 4% this year. That's after any cuts that we had, plus allocations to the nursing home. Really, I've got four big drivers that are driving up the budget. We are going to incur a 66% increase in trash and recycling. Electrical costs, you're looking at a 15%
I'm
increase.
sorry, excuse me. Oh, I see it now. Never mind. I want to make a note of that.
Yeah.
In my book.
Sure,
I see it now. Thank you.
it's in the 290
Yep.
series accounts. The electricity, same, no, different account, but anyway, across the board, then the electricity, looking at a 15% increase. Water, 10%, and sewage, 22%. And I can get into the details as far as the why with the water and light. Right now they're looking at over $1 million in infrastructure upgrades to their substation, step down transformers, and converting to remaining circuits. That speaks to the 15% increase for the electricity. As far as the water, they're doing some state mandated changes there. Doing work to their service line. Has to do with inventory, water treatment, lab equipment, and then the probability of adding UV light disinfection treatment to the water plant. And then as far as the sewage plant, back in March, there was a $0.5 million upgrade that was approved by the taxpayers for the wastewater plant. And so trying to get some money raised for that. I don't think that'll actually start being built or whatever till for, probably another couple of years, but anyway, in between now and the time that they do that, they're raising the revenues to cover that cost. As far as wages and benefits, as you heard from the county administrator, there's the cost of living allowance that was approved by the commissioners, as well as any merit increases that may be warranted. I do have an electrician that we are moving up to a different pay grade, going from a G13, grade 13 to a grade 14. It comes out to a 70-cent raise that's effective July 26, and this was based on a review of the position by HR and their recommendation. Moving down to the health insurances and all that, I'm sure aware of the increases that the county's incurring. I'm sure you've heard the detail on that. In the education and conferences, which is account 170, we're looking at about a 53.3% reduction. We didn't spend as much money as we thought we were in this current budget, so we're going to basically cover next year with some encumbrances to help soften that. In the contract service accounts, 291 through 299, other than the trash, and the utilities that I just previously mentioned, we do have a pending repair for the Caterpillar generator that covers the nursing home and the biomass plant. It's got a front timing / dampening cover that has to be replaced. It's going to involve a few days of disassembly just to get to the part, and then reassembling. A big part of the cost is going to be a temporary generator that has to be set up to provide emergency service to the nursing home and biomass plant if something happens during the time they're working on this generator. That's a significant cost. It's a $12,564 cost. 75% of that will go to account 291, which the bulk of the use goes to that building, which is the nursing home. And then the other 25% will be covered under the biomass plant. We do have some J's software maintenance agreements that need to be renewed. They're 5-year renewals. It has to do with our building automation systems that control all the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, equipment throughout the complex. It's all computerized, and so we've got to keep that stuff licensed and using it. That affects 299 account and 297 account. Back to the utilities, or the water and the sewage in particular. Talking the DOC count 637 and 647. We're looking at about a 300,000 gallon increase annually for that facility because of the increase in census. As far as fuel costs go, these are like your 649 account through 657. Wood chip stayed the same, propane stayed the same, but the diesel went up about 88 cents per gallon. We don't go through a lot. Go through the cost of, I think it's around 6,000 or 7,000 gallons. So it's not a huge account, but
There was some interest though in what that, when you talk about what that contract was we just did. The price for diesel.
what is it you're talking about now?
Yeah, what's the price for diesel that we did the contract?
Okay, so the diesel is a year to year. The current is $2.977 per gallon, and it's going up to 3.8543 per gallon. Of course, it's a lot higher now, but we locked in really early.
Thank you.
Welcome. Let's see. Moving down to the 805 through 838 accounts. 805 is the care of the grounds. We've got to put some bollards around a fire hydrant up front. We got to protect that near Route 10. We also have to replace some shed doors on our generator shed and the switchgear shed that's between the barns. Those are all rotted out. So that's the reason for 805 being up. The account 810 is up a little bit because we have to replace all the pulsators for the milking system throughout that, replace the wiring for them, I should say. At the alternative sentencing account 812, going to be adding some snow rails to protect the generator and condensing units for the air conditioning system. In the nursing home account 830, there's a proliferation of bed and tub repairs, so we've got some increased costs there. Got a number of windows that need to be replaced that are fogged up. We need to replace some of the,
So you're straying into line by line, and I asked you not to do that. Please, in fact, your repair sewer, the 831 line went down by $2,000, but I don't know how significant that is in the overall budget picture. Anyway.
I've done what you've asked me to do. So I disagree with you. You were looking for the significant changes and I'm getting to you.
Mhm.
The rest of it's pretty minuscule. So if there's any specific questions about specific line items.
I'm sure they will. Representative Volk.
I just wanted to highlight and ask how you're doing it. It looks like you reduced fuel consumption in this building, the courthouse and I don't know how substantial some of the reductions were, because I don't know what the total fuel usage had been. But I'm just curious about what you're doing to, are we freezing the inmates or?
No, we're not. Most of the buildings are heated with a biomass plant. This current year, we had purchased some number 2 heating oil, mainly as backup. Our tanks are full, and I don't see any possibility of having to put any number 2 heating oil in any of the oil tanks. And so that's the reduction that you're seeing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Spar is next. Thank you.
I couldn't discern, what's the total 2026 trash, anticipated trash expense? And then you said you're gonna go to 66%. What's that dollar amount for 2027? It looked like it was on a whole bunch of different line items.
It is.
If you were to add it all up, it was just understand the magnitude of it.
Yeah, I'd have to do the math. I
I can
didn't
look.
put it all together.
If you just hold on a second, I can log.
We only had one bid come in for our trash.
That was my follow-up question. Is it the same carrier or a different?
Yeah, it
carrier?
was the same.
It was the same one. We solicited, there's basically 2 entities in the area.
I was on that call when you were doing that a month ago or so, and I remember that, and I thought we wanted to at least get 3 written proposals. Is that?
I have only been able to, there's only 2 companies that have actually responded here over the years to our bid solicitations. That was Casella, Waste Management, and Pete's. And in fact, I think we went out twice on the trash, and Pete's was the only one that would respond.
Because I remember just on the call, I went on the internet and there are not a lot of providers out there.
That's
No
correct.
question, but I would guess there'd be a few more that you could probably track down and see if there's interest, no?
I think Jim did try to do that.
I want to say there were
Waste
4
management.
entities. There's one down in the Wentworth Warren area,
Well, the Vermont. side.
Witcher. But there was another one here, but
Is there any on the Vermont side that would do it, or?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and see if it's solicited.
Did you figure out the totals?
It's in a bunch of different lines. I'm trying to find that out for you.
Thank you.
Oh, we can get that number from Julie and moving forward. We don't need to have it like this moment. Representative France.
Hey, courthouse. I can't help but notice that there isn't anything, or not much, in for repairs and maintenance for the courthouse. I don't know if this is the time to bring it up or not, but we're reducing the total tax rate for the county by using some of our reserve accounts, 1.5 million. This is just my opinion. I think this should happen. I think we all know that this courthouse is just teetering. We don't have any idea whether this is gonna pass or not. I know that you won't get any Republican votes for sure. And I heard, some of the Democrats as well are not gonna vote for it. So we need to have something in the budget to start doing some major repairs. So I would just think, and like I said, I don't know if this is the time to bring it up or when we summarize everything, but I would rather see a true increase in the tax rate by adding the 1.5 million to some sort of a capital reserve or something for the courthouse repairs, should it not pass.
I mean, obviously, that's gonna be a decision made by the commissioners. But at my level, in all the discussions that we've had in the past, I just want to remind you that once you start getting into any major repairs, because it's not lack of maintenance. What it is you've got infrastructure there that's original, that's 55 years old, okay? A lot of it's way past its life expectancy, okay? But it's still running. Once you start getting into any major project there, you touch 50% of it, all of a sudden you're into a across the board total upgrade of the entire facility to bring it up to today's code.
It's a legal requirement.
It's a legal requirement. So, I've talked to great length with the engineers about this, and it's not like, they said what it is kind of like a domino effect. Once you do this, it kicks this in, and then once this kicks another thing in. But anyway, like for instance, the building is not sprinkled. You're gonna touch the whole building putting in a sprinkler system.
Trigger.
Yeah, there's the other one, the asbestos. You're gonna touch everything. So you're automatically into it. So 1.5 million may sound like a lot, but it's nothing compared to what's these code updates are gonna require.
We had a whole study done on the cost of doing that, and it was more expensive than building a new building. I mean, we could go through and have that done all over again, but I think you can make a lot of assumptions about what those costs are gonna be to do that.
But what I think I heard Representative Franz say was there's this 1.5 million that's sitting there, and I think she's talking about putting it into some sort of capital reserve, and it's there as a contingency in case something major does go south. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay, which I think is
Right now,
probably a wise
nothing,
idea.
very minimal in the budgets, should something happen. And I also heard that, and I don't know for sure, that the estimates, if we didn't go with a new courthouse, that the estimates to repair were way overstated. I thought somewhere around 30 million that it might cost if we repaired the building. And it's a lot better than the close to 100 million to build it.
I think you've mixed up apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near.
Oh, so what,
Yeah. In partial answer to your question, I want to get some clarity. My understanding is that the purpose of the undesignated fund balance is to answer any completely unexpected expenses as envisioned by you, that some catastrophic failure happens. We do not necessarily need a separate capital reserve fund. That's the purpose of the undesignated fund.
Right, and what we do is we try to use it to both defer, or to defer, but to reduce the tax burden and keep enough in place in case it's an emergency. So Julie has those numbers as if we only put in 1.5 million, which is what this budget has in it. those reserves, what's left in our reserves. There's a certain amount we try to keep in there.
We try to keep between 8% there's 3% left when we use 1.5. There is no extra capital, I mean, surplus funds to use to put in a capital reserve fund. It just, that can't happen. We don't have the money to do that.
No, I mean, instead of reducing the tax rate, I think we should
Just hang
keep
into
that
it.
money. And kind of, well, I think it should be earmarked for the courthouse. Somehow by putting it into a capital reserve.
So just to be clear about this, if we were not to take the $1.5 million, and set it against the tax increase, what would the tax increase be then projected at? And we can, you don't have to have that
I didn't
answer.
do that.
Yeah.
Well, we have that right in the information that you have right in front of you. With the proposed budget, the county taxes to be raised for 36,358,678.
Yeah, but that had a $1.7 million fund balance used in it.
That's still at about 1.7, right? You reduce that to 1.5.
Can you just hold on a second? I can answer your question.
Okay, because I think that
I need
that
a second.
has to be
It's gonna
part of your.
I just feel that we're just shorting ourselves if we use that, and reduce the tax rate, have practically no reserves left, and something goes wrong with this courthouse, and if we don't pass it, we could be in cash trouble.
I think this is an important discussion to have, Representative. Thank you. Hold on, let's give Julie a second to answer the question.
You think it's 12%?
We'll see what comes out. Just thinking.
13.7.
14.7. 13. So you have to speak up because way down here. He moved my hearing devices. It's a challenge. Okay. Do you want to continue, Representative Franz?
Well, I think I'm a little confused. Currently, if we use the 1.5 to reduce the tax rate, what is the increase? Is it the 10.
10.78.
Oh, the 8.78. Just got so many figures all over the place. So 8, okay, I see. So instead of the 8.78, it would then be 13.
13.7, almost 4%.
4%. My opinion, I don't think it's that bad. I'd rather, this is just my opinion. I'd rather have it in the courthouse.
I very sincerely felt that it was an important discussion. I appreciate that you brought it up.
I just want to point out that even if we did that we didn't use 1.5 million. Which I would advocate for, but not to dedicate it to something else.
Right.
Even not using it, we still only have a projected surplus of 5.9%, which is well below what we should have for surplus, so. The only reason I went with the 1.5 was because the tax rate had increased as much as it did in an effort to try to reduce the tax rate, so. We don't have a lot of extra surplus funds that we should be dedicating to anything.
So I would acknowledge that is an absolute truth and truthful statement. I would also point out that in some instances, counties or cities and towns have no capital undesignated fund balance. I'm not happy with how low it is as well. But I also acknowledge that the counterpoint to having a high undesignated fund balance is that as taxpayers, they've had to pay that money in their taxes in order to get it there. And previous members of this executive committee had argued long and hard about using the undesignated fund balance to keep the tax rate low because they felt it was using taxpayer money.
Right.
So I want to flesh out the whole concept of what we're talking. I had Representative Stringham next, then we'll go back to you.
So I think, I think we've been listening to what you're talking about for the last few years, and other people are hearing it too, that the courthouse hasn't, we kind of saw the end of the life and decided to not do major things. And what I think I've heard you say before is that the electrical system, the Federal Pacific, is a known fire hazard. And that as in our role, maybe we should be not 100% sleeping at night, knowing there is a risk there that that has not yet been addressed. The maintenance system also has the sprinkler installation, the conditioning condensing units, as well as what is addressed in the budget, I guess, the parking lot replacements facilities. But all this is, we're looking at $6 million. We're looking at closing the building for 2 years and shifting people somewhere else if we did them as maintenance. And right now, the only thing really in the budget is the $7,600 for the underground storage tank, I think, right? That is still.
Which account are you looking at?
Yes, that's correct.
That's in the
Capital account.
capital account.
Oh, right, yeah, but that's for this, unrelated to the courthouse.
Oh, that's unrelated to the courthouse. That's a different payment. So, I didn't see how we would be responsible as the executive committee without either having a reserve for the building or a reserve for maintenance. If we're not going to be doing the maintenance right now, one way or the other, and shifting money from the undesignated and the leftover funds from this year to that would be more responsible for the taxpayers than continuing to just ask for less money. I'm certainly hearing from people, how did we get this far? And not have any money available to start building. We have to borrow it all. And
It goes back to, I mean, I've been here 22 years. When I got here, the nursing home and the admin building were in full swing of being renovated or additions added. I don't remember what the millions of dollars that was, but that was the priority at that time. Those buildings were identified as being probably more deficient than any other building in the complex. And then after that was done, we had this barn burn. We ended up replacing the maintenance farm building. That was a significant cost. And at that same time, we identified a water shortage, and then we ended up putting in the water tank across the road. So that was some major infrastructure. And we've done a lot of major projects or projects such as like replacing the cupolas on the barn and putting a new roof on there and trying to save those buildings because they were such disrepair. Same thing with the pig farm. We built the maintenance farm building. We ended up doing the biomass. We ended up doing the DOC. Yeah, these are all, I'm just reminding people that may not have been here that you had all these costly infrastructure changes that took place. And obviously the taxpayers can only handle so much at once. And at that time, the courthouse was one of the better buildings. And I forget, we had the old DOC, that place was a wreck. And so ideally, if the taxpayers could have absorbed it, we should have done this 20 years ago. These were decisions that were made by previous commissioners. We've done the best we can to maintain what we have, and the fact that it was built for that building is still operating. It's functional. I don't have any, aside from that electrical system that is, a lot of insurers won't even cover buildings because of those type of systems. But anyway, it's operational. You got 55-year-old air handlers, 55-year-old elevator. It's grandfathered, in fact, because it doesn't have any fire safeties. You've seen the reports. But the thing is, it's not, a lot of people out and about, oh, you're not maintaining the building. That's not the case at all. I think we've done a hell of a job maintaining the building, and the fact that it's still running is a testament to that maintenance. What it needs is a major overhaul if that building were to stay the courthouse.
And if I also understand, kind of,
Yes, of course.
the other issue I understand is that when this was built in the 1970s, Grafton had a population of about 55,000. Now we're around 95,000. So it's a 70% increase in the population, which means more needs for corrections, more needs for sheriff, more needs for courthouse space, more needs for all the services are provided, and that building just doesn't have the space necessary, or is it configured properly because it was built like, I don't know, it was on whatever drug they were on, but it's crazy. I mean, and it's obsolete. And it doesn't fit the needs of the county now that it's 70% larger.
Valid points.
Okay. One of the things we are still, this is a conversation that will continue. I will just acknowledge that making the decision to do, for instance, the Department of Corrections was a very difficult and long process. I would expect that coming to a realization about what we're going to do about the courthouse will be equally difficult and long conversation. Today, we are trying to address the budget. I admit there are impacts to it, Representative France, but I think in the interest of time, as we are very late now, in terms of the next persons who are coming up, we're gonna move on.
6 years start to finish is what the jail took.
Yeah.
6 years.
I understand. That was my point.
I know, I'm just pointing out how long it was, that from the time we started designing it until the time we moved into it.
Yeah, and how much more did it cost us? Never mind. Don't answer that question now.
I apologize, but I've got to leave for an appointment.
Yep.
And we'll be able to drive. One more person who is not available, so I think Julie's gonna do that next budget.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, Representative Stringham.
I just want to thank Representative France for bringing it up and say what the issue is relative to the budget is whether we pretty much related to maintenance is whether we set aside reserve for major maintenance for the existing business or to a capital reserve account for courthouse, or obviously the decision's not going to be made what we're going to be doing during this budget cycle, but the money could serve both purposes.
The point was made and I heard it, and I also had thanked her for engaging us in that conversation.
Great.
But it is time to move on. Okay.
If there are no more questions on the repair and maintenance account, talk about this one little capital outlay account. It's page 33. And basically what it is the underground storage tank that holds fuel out here in the parking lot has a sump cover that is basically cast into the concrete. We've had some issues with corrosion. The lid, what happens is it's not perfectly sealed. So you get water in there and the sumps tend to fill up in the winter. So between the freeze and the thaw, it pushed that up to where the plow caught it and damaged it. So you're looking at $7,645 to do the repair to that. Right now, it's coned off. It's not a safety concern, but it's something that definitely has to be addressed.
Representative Bolt.
What is are those three things crossed out?
They were things that the commissioners decided to cover either through some other way or they dropped out altogether.
Representative Vogel.
Jim, in one of the lines that's crossed out, the HVAC refrigeration systems upgrade. Was that zeroed out or is that being done with other funds?
That was crossed out. That was going to be a blend of capital outlay as well as nursing home capital reserve. Basically, when you look across this complex, a lot of the HVAC stuff is right there at the end of its life. And, we don't want to get into a situation like we are in the courthouse. So it's What it is it's, it was gonna be an engineering study to come in and logistically try to figure out how we're gonna replace some air handlers and, you know, condensing units and all that stuff. Predominantly for this building as well as the nursing home, but the nursing home get the lion's share of it. The systems that we're running have, R22 refrigerant. They stopped, you know, the industry stopped making R22 many years ago because it was ozone depleting. And there are still, you can still get it, but it's exponentially expensive. And anyway, we need to look at replacing this stuff. Once again, everything's maintained, it's working the way it should, but it's on the radar.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Certainly.
And this is more for our consideration later on, but we're talking about perhaps not using $1.5 million to defer the tax rate in order to provide some additional funding in case there's something going on with the courthouse. For less than $19,000, it seems like this may be a penny wise, pound foolish decision. That's why I raise it.
It's not $18,000.
It's not.
It's way more than that. The
It's-
other part of the
it's-
money was in the nursing home.
Yeah, you're looking at, I think, I want to say the nursing home portion was, I don't remember that whole
40
number.
some, I think it was 40 something.
That sounds about right, but it was a good chunk, and of course, because it was affecting the nursing home, it would go from the capital reserve.
So
29,630.
total?
It was 30 plus 18.
48.
48.
Yeah, it's almost $50,000. And this is just a study, you know,
I
logistically trying to do this thing without occupied is gonna be really challenging. And we're talking about having to open up holes in the roof to crane stuff out, crane stuff in. You know, particularly in the nursing home, so like, that's something I wanted to do.
just
It's a good thing.
For our
Another one of
future.
Those good conversation points. Okay. Anything else, everybody? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Oates. And I'm sorry if I was a bit short with you. I apologize for that publicly. I didn't intend it to be quite so short.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
I'll have a good day.
Thank you. So, we, on page 33, we missed the sheriff's department and the farm capital reserve accounts. If you have specific questions regarding, so in the sheriff's capital request, there was a request for 2 cruisers and safety equipment. The safety equipment for 2 cruisers, it totaled $160,000. The commissioners funded one of those cruisers and the safety equipment. So $80,000 is in the capital outlay. The other cruiser and safety equipment that she requested will be purchased. It just will be purchased out of the ARPA interest money that we have remaining. So if you have specific questions, I can jot those down, or you can reach out to the sheriff directly. But that was missed when she was in here to present her budget.
Did I also see that there wasn't a sale of the old equipment?
They're going to trade they're
Oh.
gonna use the vehicles for trade-in. She feels they can get more in a trade-in value than they can get selling them outright.
Okay, so this 160 is net of trade.
This is not, because we don't know what we would get for trade, so these likely will be less cost than what's in this budget. And the farm has an 8-foot tiller, which I technically don't even know what. If you have questions, I can relay those for you.
You're connected.
Well, I connected all of the department
Yeah,
heads, just differently, yeah, in that regard. If you do have questions, just let me know, and I did already put the request in for the 5-year capital request for the farm. So if there aren't any other questions, I am going to do, alternative sentencing director, Mitchell has unfortunately had a medical situation and is not able to meet with you today, so, you go to page 2, the alternative sentencing department does have revenue. So the revenue for the alternative sentencing department is increasing $50,380 total. And the significant factor for that is we received grant funding from the Bureau of Drug and Alcohol Services for substance use disorder treatment. That grant that we get from them is increasing substantially during next year. You'll see part of the increase in the Department of Corrections budget. And then you'll see a $68,880 increase in the alternative sentencing budget. We also are seeing a decrease in it's called in the budget book statewide RJ initiative. RJ stands for Restorative Justice. That's our juvenile restorative justice program. That's grant funds as well, and we're anticipating a decrease in those grant funds in the upcoming fiscal year for that program. Really the highlights on the revenue. Happy to try and answer any questions that you have or get answers for you if I can't answer them.
Representative Vogel.
Do we know, or can we find out the VDAS grants? Substantial increase, is that related to issues in the county?
No, I don't know the answer. I don't, so the BDAS grant is, sometimes we have to apply and sometimes they just renew the contracts that we have with them. This year, we got a contract renewal with hey, you're getting this much more money this year. And it's been steadily increasing over the last few years. The Bureau of Drug and Alcohol Services, most of that money comes from the alcohol fund at the state level. So I'm guessing there's been more money there to be able to give out to the on highway. So that's what I know about that. If there aren't any other questions on the revenue,
Yeah, Representative Vogel had his hand up.
Just wondering, can anybody sign up for the shoplifting course?
well, shoplifting, you can't. You can't sign up just because you want to learn how to, because that's not what it's for.
Oh, yeah,
But if you take the class, you don't pay for it, you get charged for shoplifting.
But if you happen to get caught shoplifting, you could sentence you to that program.
All right.
So on page 9 and 10 are the two budgets for the alternative sentencing department. We have this broken down into two budgets specifically for the grant that we have for the Bureau of Drug and Alcohol Services. And I actually would like to start with that, which is the second page, which is the 4117 budget. You'll see that budget is up $3,514. There are no major increases at all in that budget. The budget itself is $280,000, $2,083, and we're receiving $272,600 in revenue to offset that. So that program is almost all paid for through those BDAS grant funds that we're getting for this particular fiscal year. Really the highlight for that section of the budget. I'm happy to, like I said, answer any questions or get answers for you if I can't answer the questions.
How does that compare to prior budget years in terms of the?
It's much better this year. It's a significantly closed gap.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I think that's an important point. Okay, thanks.
Then on page 9 is the 4116 budget, which is the budget for the remaining part of the alternative sentencing, which doesn't deal with substance use disorder. This budget is up $26,451. Really, the driver are the general wage and benefit increases that we've discussed already this morning that exist in everybody's budgets. Other than that, there aren't really any big increases or decreases in this budget. Again, happy to field any questions that anybody might have regarding the alternative sentencing budget.
So just for sake, comparison's sake, so the revenue for this side of things and the gap. Where how is it compared to?
Oh, there is no well,
Does it,
it remains pretty much the same. But if you look at in total, the two alternative sentencing budgets are up just under 30,000 and the revenue for the program is up 50,380.
that's,
So,
that's where I was trying to get to.
right.
That's where I was trying to get that. Okay.
The alternative sentencing program, in case you aren't familiar, runs our adult diversion program, our juvenile diversion program, the mental health court, and then they have a care and a care plus program that works with individuals who are on probation. Them re-enter into the community.
Was your hand up, Representative Holden? I wasn't sure. Representative Fox.
Under the line 002, are there any new hires or is that just,
There are no new hires in
merit
this
and
budget.
COLA?
These are just merit increases. There are no new positions in this budget.
Why is it so high? I mean, compared to others, it was like. Is it? Step increases or?
5 different positions, so I don't know, they're each eligible. There's the 3.03%. Oh, you know why? Because some of the percentages, if you look at this 002 line and you combine it with the 002 line on the other page, there are percentages shared between the two budgets for different positions. So the late act position, the case manager, the administrative assistant are all shared between these two budgets. And so you'll see a much less increase in this. The percentages that are shared between the two budgets are different.
Someday I'll get used to this, but. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. If that's it, that is the last department to talk about today. Our next meeting is June 5th. There be square.
I'll be smart.
9 o'clock. Oh, that.
Right.